Tuesday's Election Day in the city of Riverside. 4 of the 7 council seats are up in a mail-in only election, meaning the possibility exists for a dramatically reshaped city government. Joining me now is Press Enterprise City Hall reporter Alicia Robinson to discuss the campaign. Thanks for being here. Let's just start with some citywide issues. What are kind of the issues being talked about out on the campaign trail?
Well, pensions have come up at some of the candidate forums. The city is in the midst of trying to negotiate contracts with its employee groups, and the current administration has been pushing hard for 2-tiered pension systems. A lot of the challengers actually have been raising issues of sort of ethics, transparency, and kind of questioning the current administration as to how open they've been about, how much debt is the city really in, and some of the other things that have been going on at City Hall.
Right. The pension issue is a really hot issue across the state. The Riverside County is also discussing a second tier. What exactly is a second tier, and are some of the candidates questioning whether that's the right approach for the city?
Well, the agreements that Riverside's been negotiating would bring in new employees with slightly lesser amount of benefits, and those employees would have to pay some more of their own costs for their retirement. And some of the candidates have been questioning whether it's a good idea to have people working side by side at the same job, whereas some of them are getting less benefits than others, right, and wondering whether maybe there's a way to still save money but without cutting back on benefits.
Right. As for the wards that are up, which ones are up this year?
It's wards 1, 3, 5, and 7.
So the odd numbers.
Right.
Right. Well, let's start with Ward 1. Give us a rundown of who's in that race.
Well, Ward 1 is one of the more interesting, one of the more hot races. There are 4 candidates. Incumbent Mike Gardner is hoping to win a second term. He is facing a challenge from Dom Betro, who Gardner unseated by a very narrow margin just 4 years ago, and political newcomers Devon Petrozzillo, who's a teacher of at-risk kids and formerly worked in the mayor's office, and then Marisa Valdez-Yeager, who's been, I believe, a lifelong Riverside resident and is a transportation executive in Los Angeles County.
Betro was the council member before, and again, lost to Mike Gardner in that very close race. What is he telling people about why he wants that job back again?
Well, he has kind of claimed that Gardner has not kept his promises that he made to voters, and that the city is going in the wrong direction, they've been spending too much money, and that the council needs a strong representative, which he claims he is, to kind of rein in city management and spending. What's
kind of been Gardner's response to some of those accusations?
Well, Gardner, as well as the incumbents in the other wards, have been kind of in the position of defending their records and defending the city's recent accomplishments. They've brought up the fact that the city has a balanced budget, unlike many other cities in California. And the fact that they've been able to do this massive amount of public works project known as the Renaissance, bringing new parks and libraries and other public improvements to every ward in the city.
Right. And the other 2 candidates, are they hitting some of the similar themes in the Ward 1 race?
Yeah, Devon Petrozzillo especially has been raising some issues of ethics and whether the city has been above board in some of the bond deals that it's made recently and some of the other things that have been going on. And even Marisa Yeager has actually questioned at times some of Gardner's pledges and whether he's kept those.
Right. Let's move on to Ward 7. That's also a pretty competitive race. Give us a rundown of the candidates there.
Well, the incumbent, Councilman Steve Adams, has served 2 terms and is hoping to win a third. And he's facing challenges from Terry Frizzell, who's the former mayor and councilwoman, and also from John Brandriff, who is a political newcomer. He's a UPS driver, and he sits on the Community Police Review Commission. Right.
Now, the incumbent, Councilman Adams, he's had some accusations thrown his way about ethics. Give us a kind of explain that, and are his opponents in this race kind of using that in the campaign?
Well, now he has claimed kind of from the start that these ethics charges against him have been politically motivated. One was filed by a community group. Now, Adams did point out correctly that one of the people filing the complaint is married to one of his opponents. And now that argument was that they alleged he had used his influence over city employees and interfered with a community meeting that they were having. And then the other charge was related to a lawsuit that has since been settled, that it was alleged that he interfered in some police promotions. Now, he has staunchly denied the charges, and in both cases, a panel that heard those charges did not find that he committed any violation.
So the city looked into these charges and kind of concluded that there was no wrongdoing done.
Right.
Right. Okay. Well, let's move on to the other two awards. Those are 3 and 5. One of which is not competitive. Give us a rundown of those final 2 wards that are up for election.
Right. In Ward 5, Councilman MacArthur, he's finishing out his first term. He does not have any opponents.
Right.
And apparently people are reasonably satisfied with the job he was doing, or somebody probably would have challenged him.
Right. And Ward 3?
Ward 3 is Councilman Rusty Bailey. He is seeking a second term. He has also talked in the past about possibly being interested in running for mayor next year, but who knows how that's going to shake out. And then he's facing a challenge from Jim Davis, who has never run for office before. He is a fabrication inspector who has worked in, iron work and things like that. So describes himself as kind of a blue-collar worker.
Now, this is a mail-in only election. As people are watching, it's probably too late to drop it in the mail and rely on the Postal Service to get it there on time. So if people still have that ballot at home and they're filling it out, making a final decision about who they should vote for, what can they do to ensure that their ballots are going to arrive on time?
The city does have several drop-off locations, and the city clerk did recommend if you haven't put it in the mail within 3 or 4 days of the election, you should definitely drop it off in person. There are about 4 different community centers where they have drop boxes, also at City Hall and at the Registrar of Voters office.
Right. Well, it will be interesting to see how it all unfolds on Tuesday. We appreciate you watching. You can find out more about the city election on PE.com and the results of Tuesday's election on the website as well. For the Press Enterprise and PE.com, I'm Dwayne Gang.